Good morning, everyone, and thank you guys so much for joining today. So far, we have the market down slightly. Like, if we take a look at the SPY, we are slowly selling off this morning, but there's no crazy movement in either direction. One of the most, I guess you could say, notable stocks this morning is definitely Tesla. Last I checked, it's up like 3% in pre-market. They had that good delivery news recently, and they're really starting to pop off. And Tom, we're getting really close to that $800 resistance.
Yeah, we are, and we actually broke above it this morning. And I was really thinking that Tesla might get some nice action here. So I really hope that at open we see some good moves up above $800 in pre-market. Like I said, we hit 802.50, so we did move above it a little bit, and I hope that that's kind of forecasting that at open Tesla might fly up. But man, they had those awesome delivery numbers yesterday, and that's just a great thing to see. They beat the estimates out, and people have really been looking at those type of delivery numbers as a really good data point for Tesla's stock. And I just think it's a really good thing to see their numbers doing well. And we're also seeing some other stocks like Boeing also kind of popping off this morning. But on the opposite side of things, we have stocks like NIO kind of falling down while Tesla's doing good. And you would think maybe they would rise with some sympathy together.
True, and then we have Jay coming in saying Moderna is down round 2 of red, and I'm really glad you brought this one up. It's definitely tanking off, and I can see it continuing to sell off for sure. At the same time, MRK is, going to, I don't want to say new highs, but they definitely have a lot of good momentum. Remember, they had that great news on Thursday about one of their pills, and their stock just exploded up. So definitely, I think that I don't think it's gonna really hurt Moderna, but it's definitely not good news. And plus, when you combine it with Moderna was already so overbought to begin with, I can definitely see Moderna continuing to sell off. And the main thing I was watching, Tom, is I know you pointed out like some of these recovery plays coming back up. Like Boeing and stuff, but DAL was looking pretty good, and even some of these cruise lines weren't looking too bad in pre-market.
Yeah, they weren't actually. And DAL actually broke its high of Friday and ran up to $46 in pre-market. So it actually broke and was running for a little while there. And who knows if we can break above 46 again, maybe sometime soon on DAL, I could see another good move. And they had a great move up on Friday, and hopefully that momentum can just kind of, hopefully it kind of stays there, because these recovery plays have been moving so well over the past couple of weeks, like DAL, RCL, CCL. And it looks like as of right now, some of them are starting to come down here right at open. But, there's definitely a lot of time left today. And with how much of a rise they had on Friday, I would not be too surprised to see a small pullback.
Good stuff. So welcome everyone to the stream. Welcome David, Mike, Vicky, Jay, Keisha, Sale, and Jason. You guys know the drill. Let us know what stocks you're watching so we can take a look at them. We have Mike coming in saying, "Good morning. Fingers crossed for a start to a good week." So I'm with you. So far, the week is slightly red. There's definitely more red than green, but then again, the market's literally been open for a minute. So, and the SPY's popping up pretty well. So that's good to see. Really, Tom, the main stocks I'm watching are these recovery ones like Boeing, RCL, and just stuff like that.
Yeah, me too. That's the main ones really moving today. And I'm looking at my watch list here, and we got Netflix actually up 2%, leading the way on my watch list at least. But that's the only big tech stock really up there leading the way. The rest are all these recovery plays, and even oil right now. Some of these oil stocks are starting to really pop off. Like today in pre-market, we had Exxon break that $61 high of the other day. We have Chevron actually kind of popping up too. So hopefully these guys can kind of stay up with these airlines, because the airlines and the oil plays have kind of been moving the same lately. It's been a very strange market for these recovery plays, to say the least. But looking at it, it's just all I'm really seeing today is Netflix leading the way, crude oil stocks, and then just the airlines that have been doing very well. And I want to kind of visit Lucid that we talked about a little bit last week. I know that they had a lot of momentum earlier in the week, and Wall Street Bets was really starting to pump them up a couple of weeks ago, and it looks like they kind of bounced off that 24 support this morning.
Gotcha. So, yeah, very interesting there. Like we already talked about, there's definitely more selling pressure than not this morning. Lots of stocks are struggling a little bit, which does suck to see. Really, the main momentum's coming out of Tesla. And, personally, it's awesome to see Tesla explode up, but I just feel like there's, even with Tesla moving, I feel like there's better plays out there like DraftKings, RUN, Boeing, and other stocks like at solid levels for the long term.
Yeah, definitely. And then also those stocks are going to be priced in a lot better. Like Tesla is a really well, at least their options are going to be priced in better. Tesla has some crazy priced options, and with a gap up like 3% on Tesla this morning, those calls are going to be going crazy. And I'm sure the you can see the IV is a lot higher than it was a couple weeks ago. So really looking at Tesla, it's going to be pretty hard to trade it. Like you said, that momentum has to really come in. And if we see a break of 800, I think it could work out. But I'm with you. I'd much rather buy DraftKings or some of these other stocks down here at these levels. And I'll tell you what, DraftKings actually broke their $50 resistance, and they're actually using that now as support. So hopefully DraftKings can stay up above $50 a share. I think that would be awesome, Mike. And looking at the chart here, $50 has been a really good area for DraftKings in the past.
For sure, for sure. So let's take a look at Netflix again really quickly. So it's up 1.5% on the day. There's a lot of great momentum with this one. I know that like one of their shows, Squid Game, is going crazy right now. Like I'm sure you've seen memes all over social media, but like almost everyone's talking about it, and I'm sure that's definitely helping out Netflix. Did you get a chance to watch Squid Game?
Yeah, believe it or not, I actually never heard of that until 30 minutes before we recorded this morning, Mike. I was on Facebook and I saw some video where like some people they would like get shot if they like it was like a red light green light game or something, and that's what I saw about it. But other than that, I actually haven't even heard about it at all until I watched that video this morning. So maybe I'm just living under a rock, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it. I actually finished the series a couple days ago, and I'll admit, like, it was really, really good. I really don't even, like, watch TV or, like, even Netflix that much, but, like, I'll admit, like, I was hooked, like, almost, like, every minute of the series, and it was really cool, and, it was just very unique, so I would definitely check it out if you haven't.
Yeah, it honestly looked really cool, and that red light green light video I watched seemed really nice. And either way, it's really making their stock pop, and they had a really nice like double top here at 615, and they kind of failed to break that on Friday, and they're just having a really nice momentum, or there's a lot of nice momentum coming in, really pushing it, breaking that 615 high. I'm gonna try to find like a next well, honestly, we're at all-time highs, so it's gonna be really hard to say, but I mean, maybe 650 over the next like couple weeks. It's gonna be hard to pick a top here on Netflix, but either way, there's a lot of momentum coming in, and I would just treat it as a momentum play. Maybe try to get into those big moves around market open or something like that. I don't think I'd swing Netflix right here, Mike, with the way that it's just now starting to break out. But either way, this is a nice show, and I'm really glad it's boosting them up like this.
You know it. All right, so then we have Sean saying Tesla testing out 800. So the huge level at 800, it has a lot of momentum, and I can see it breaking.
Yeah, me too. It's been around here for a long time. We just hit 803 just a couple minutes ago, and now we're starting to consolidate a little bit. But, if we could get back up above 800 and really stay up there, I think it'll really I think investors will start to really pour into Tesla, to say the least. Like those delivery numbers were awesome, and, we just had a lot of good stuff coming out lately.
All righty. Then we have Jason saying AUY in KGC and then gold up. So, yeah, I was looking at a couple different, one of those, like, gold stocks, like GLD's looking good, GDX not bad. I mean, those two are down so far, or GDX is barely in the green. But, yeah, it's nice to see some of these gold stocks trying to pop up. I know AUY is now in the red slightly, but, yeah, I mean, not bad at all. Let's see. So, Tom, like, what do you think about some of these gold plays?
Yeah, I think the gold could honestly go pretty well. We had GLD kind of hitting off support a lot down here at the bottom level, like right around like 160. So it's been looking pretty good, but I mean, it's just been really rough lately.
Alrighty, so looking at everything, guys, let us know what stocks you're watching. I'm doing a quick scan on the market overall right now. Bank stocks aren't looking too bad. Like if we look at JP Morgan, it's definitely in the green by like about 1% or so. Zoom stock is definitely struggling, down another 2.5% on the day. But across the board, still more selling pressure coming in. GM stock looks pretty solid. We can see their stocks up like almost 4% on the day.
Yeah, it is. That's actually a pretty nice gap. And I didn't see any, I actually saw some of the news, but the news about it wasn't anything crazy. Like it wasn't any deliveries or anything like that. I heard they were like working with somebody new, but it wasn't the numbers like we saw with Tesla with any crazy deliveries or anything. But either way, it really made GM pop. And I know lots of people have been looking at GM a lot lately, Mike. It actually had a pretty big pullback here from their high. They came from around $64 all the way down to around like 48 to 50. And it looks like it's holding up pretty well right now. And it's actually recovering up very nice. And I could possibly see it filling the gap up to like 57 or 58.
All right, so good stuff there. And we have Alex saying, should we wait for Neo or buy small? So, no one can catch the bottom, of course, but I think the best way to go is by selling puts if you can. But if you can't, I would just average in. No one can catch the bottom. Let's say you want to have, let's just say, I don't know, a $5,000 position with Neo for the long term. Maybe just buy like a couple hundred every week until you reach your intended position target. So I think that's definitely the way to go. Especially in this downtrend, you could actually probably end up getting a pretty good average with it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Neo was posting some pretty good supports, and today it just unfortunately broke those to the downside. So it's just a tough one to look at right now. But I'm with you, Mike. If you like it for the long term, I would start to average in, and I've been looking at it a lot lately to start doing that and to start selling puts on it. So as it starts to go down, there's going to be a lot of opportunities. And one good thing about Neo right now, and I know it's not the best news ever, but at least the options are priced good. We have the IV pretty low comparative to the past anyways. So either way, at least the options are starting to be priced well. And whenever we do see the turnaround, I think it'll really start to fly back up. But, for right now, it's a Chinese stock. So that could also be weighing in on their situation.
Absolutely. All right, we have Jay saying, any thoughts on UPST? So it's down like 5% on the day. There's more selling pressure coming in, obviously. Their options are pretty expensive. I like it to the downside. It's just a really tough one to trade. Like they have a pretty big support right at 275, but it's just definitely a tough one to trade given all of the crazy buying pressure over the past month or so. But I do like it to the downside.
Yeah, me too. It really is starting to turn over. And like you said, we are getting down to like some of these support areas. So it's going to be a little difficult over the next couple weeks, but either way, it still looks pretty good.
All right, so we have Miles saying, what's up, Mike and Tom? Any companies report earnings this week? So, yes, of course. I'll run through the list really quickly. Give me one. So, earnings whisper this week. Give me 1 second because we didn't have the list pulled up. So, some of the top stocks for this week, according to earnings whispers, we have like NAPA. On Tuesday, we have Pepsi. That'll be pretty big. Wednesday we have STZ. So yeah, those are the main ones so far. Tilray reports on Thursday this week, and then on Friday we have nothing major. So I would say Tilray and Pepsi are the top ones to watch out for. Honestly, I'm not gonna play earnings because they're just a gamble, and especially when you play options on them, it's kind of just like it's literally just gambling, and most of the time you just won't win. So yeah, I know Tom is having a couple technical difficulties right now, but talking about UPST again, we can see it is down around 5% on the day. They do have earnings relatively soon, so keep that in mind. But my biggest problem with UPST is the way the options are priced. So for example, right now the stock's at like 285, and an at the money call and an at the money put both cost around $1,200. So it's just hard to even break even on this one, unless you see like a crazy move, of course. But keep in mind, it's going to cost you $1,200 for an at the money put that expires in like 4 days. So just like the risk reward profile, I like the setup. It's just I feel like the options aren't priced well enough. So definitely keep that in mind. Then Tom, whenever you fix your technical difficulty, just chime in. But looking at everything else, we're definitely seeing more selling pressure in the market overall. The SPY is down around 0.4% or so. The SPY is starting to turn over. But yeah, I'm just looking at everything else. Guys, let us know what stocks you're watching, and we apologize for the technical difficulty this morning. We're trying to get Tom connected again. So again, we apologize for that. Facebook's definitely breaking lows. Apple's breaking lows. So tech's definitely looking pretty weak this morning. So yeah, let's see. So Tom, what are you seeing in the market overall?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite stocks to watch so far this morning have really been the airlines and the cruise lines, but unfortunately, they're all kind of coming right back to the downside. And, I was really looking for that big breakout. Like whenever we were looking at stocks like RCL this morning, they were looking like they might kind of start to move above that high of Friday, but they all really started to turn back around. So I don't know. Today's going to be pretty hard, but I am noticing that the banks are actually running pretty well. I have Bank of America actually breaking their high of Friday, running up pretty good this morning. And it seems like the banks are really liking what Powell's been talking about a lot lately. I know ever since Powell spoke a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was last week even, really sent the market to the upside. And you can see how much Bank of America and a couple of these banks have been moving. And, I would not be surprised if Bank of America broke out to all-time highs pretty soon. And there's just a lot of momentum coming in here. So I would say just mainly watch the banks right now. We actually have JP Morgan making that all-time high right now as I'm speaking.
There we go. And at the same time, we have banks exploding up. We have stocks like Nvidia tanking. Nvidia's tanking, Apple, Microsoft, Zoom. Lots of red so far. Palantir's down 5%. Like, so many stocks are just taking a beating.
Yeah, they are. And it's just a really bad start to the week so far. And I hope that this isn't kind of like a foreshadow for like what's to come all week, because man, like the SPY, it's really just not doing anything right now, the SPY. But like you said, we're just seeing these big tech stocks, like even like NIO, for example, really coming down, Zoom, Nvidia, like you said. And then I wonder how AMD's doing. I'm sure they're down too. Yeah, they're actually moving red as well. And it's just not looking good at all. And I don't know what's going on with the whole semiconductor sector, but I know that those CEOs came out last night, and we talked about it in last night's video. AMD CEO came out and they pretty much said that they're expecting the chip shortage to kind of start to go away like in the second half of 2022. But Marvel's CEO, MRVL, they actually came out and said that they expect the chip shortage to go all the way through 2022 into 2023. So that's a pretty bad revelation. And it just looks like that a lot of these stocks, especially these big tech stocks or the chip stocks, whenever you look at them on like a max daily chart or a max weekly, and we go back a few years, they're honestly pretty overextended. Like MRVL, they're so overextended up here, and they're starting to just now starting to come down a little bit. And it's just not looking good for a lot of these stocks. Even like AMD, they had just such an explosion over the past couple of years that I could just continue to see a pullback, especially if we break this $100 support.
You know it. So good stuff there. Market saying GM is popping. Yes, it is. GM had some pretty good news, and they've just been kind of, I don't want to say lagging, but they've been on like a slow uptrend lately. So it is good to see like some good momentum come into them. But while we're talking about like car stocks, or like especially EV stocks, I know that Tesla was looking really good this morning, and it's still holding its ground well. Like, it still is up 3%. Now, we are back below that $800 resistance, but when we see, like, the NASDAQ and just the market overall selling off, like, it just, like, kind of stunts the growth of Tesla. We can see it had an amazing open, and, lots of sellers came in right around that $800 resistance. So hopefully we get right back above that, and hopefully we see it run despite the market overall selling off.
Yeah, hopefully we do. And it looks like it's trying right now. It's actually starting to it's actually only like $1 away from there now. So I really hope to see a good move. And earlier, like whenever we broke 800, we ran up to only 803. Like, I'd love to see a huge move up above 800, maybe up to like 810, or maybe even like 807, or just something pretty good up above that pre-market high around 803. I think that would just be a great move. And one thing to keep in mind is that the IV did kind of, it's not like it got crushed, but it did fall a lot today at open on that delivery news. So I'm not saying that the delivery news like killed it or anything, but you can see the IV definitely had a weird reaction to that news.
Gotcha. Alrighty. Looking at Power's comment, they said, can you look at Nvidia? Absolutely. So Nvidia, it is right around that $200 support. Had lows of $200.11. Overall, it's definitely selling off, and I can see it continuing to sell off over the next couple weeks, the next couple months, I think we are way overdue for a rotation out of tech and into some of the recovery plays. For example, now that doesn't mean that these stocks will crash and burn, but I think relatively speaking, stocks like Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, just like NASDAQ stocks mainly will sell off a little bit, and then we'll see a recovery out of plays like Boeing. You could say some of these cruise lines and airlines as well. And I think that it's pretty obvious and that we're already seeing this given the movement over the past couple weeks. We have these airlines, cruise lines, and even stocks like Boeing popping up and breaking out while we're seeing Nvidia kind of sell off.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really showing, I think, that recovery is starting to happen. And to me, it's only just beginning. Like we're looking at these stocks like Boeing. And if we look at this on the max daily chart here, you can see how much Boeing is off of their all-time highs. And same thing like with all those other stocks you were saying, like CCL, RCL, you can just see how far off their highs some of these cruise line / airline stocks or even just recovery plays are. But whenever we go look at like Nvidia, I mean, you can just tell how much that this stock has been going up over the past couple of years. I mean, this is an insane move from at the beginning of 2020, starting at like, let's just say $122. And now we're sitting at, two or 199 or 200. I mean, this stock has just been ripping up to the upside. And we even had those splits. If we didn't have that split, it would look a lot crazier right now. What would we be at? It? The split was 4-1. So let's see, we'd be at like what, like $800 a share, Mike?
Yeah, something like that. So that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy to think about, like I know that a lot of people they thought it was nuts whenever it was at 800. So they're glad it split. But I mean, man, it's crazy to think about that how high some of these stocks have been getting. And, you're looking at stocks like Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft, and you just have to look at it like, look at how much overextended these are. And you just go look at these airlines or the cruise lines like RCL, and you can just tell like how far off their highs they are, while these other stocks have been breaking highs or breaking out to new highs for 2 years straight. So I think that's just the main thing right now is just all these recovery plays, I think, are going to start ripping. And, the good news is that RCL and a lot of these stocks, they're like right around support too. It's not like they're it's not like they're like really like crashing and burning. It's not like the beginning of COVID or anything like that. It's these companies are honestly pretty established again now.
Yep. All right. And then we have Vicky asking about levels for Boeing. So, Boeing's really strong, as Vicky mentioned. And what levels do you have for us?
Yeah, we've actually been really consolidating right around this 228 resistance right here. Somewhere between 228 and 230 is definitely going to be a big upper level to look for. And I was actually looking at Boeing quite a bit today. I have a pretty decent support, an intraday support, I should say, right around 224.50. And we kind of bounced off of that right after open today. If we look at the 1 minute, yeah, we got pretty close to my blue support line there. But if we break this 224.50 level to the downside, I would look at Boeing to maybe go down. And, I'd love to see Boeing go up. But if we break that, definitely be careful to the downside and look at 228 to 230 as a nice upper resistance. And if we break 230 to the upside, after that, I would look at 240.
All righty. And then we have market saying Plug is on a decent morning dip. So Plug's another one of those stocks that have been really struggling lately. Like Plug, CHPT, and BLNK have all been struggling a lot. Plug is below that $25 resistance, but looking at it, it's not too bad for like some short puts or maybe like a quick dip buy.
Yeah, it wouldn't be too bad for like a longer term or something to get it for the long term right now. But anything short term, I think, is going to be pretty risky. And unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of these. I don't want to say that they're like EV / charging stocks like CHPT, Plug, NIO even. I'm counting all those kind of in the same sector. And unfortunately, they're all just kind of really down today. I know Tesla had those nice numbers and they ended up doing pretty well. But unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of these stocks like CHPT, for example, is really breaking its support at $20. I can't believe it. We're all the way down to $18.57 on CHPT. It's just really not looking good for a couple of these stocks. And man, I mean, I was really hoping that these supports would hold up, but it's just not looking good right now.
All All right, so we have Vicky coming in saying, hit the like button, guys. So yeah, if you guys like the stream, it would help us out so much if you hit that like button. It takes like 2 seconds, and Tom and I would greatly appreciate it. But then, Tom, we have Keisha coming in saying, what's your take on CHPT and Run? So out of those two, which one do you like more?
Let's check out the chart. I know that I would have to lean towards RUN, especially right now for safety. Yeah, looking at it, definitely RUN. I think that they just have a lot safer looking of a chart. Their support's holding up a lot better, around $40. I think CHPT might pay out more, or you might have more money be made with CHPT in the end, or a higher percentage gain. But in the end, they're really falling off, breaking support, and I just feel like RUN's chart is setting up a lot better than CHPT's is. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think Run is a lot better than CHPT. That's just my opinion, but I just like the setup better. You know, like CHPT, Blink, and Plug have just been what seems to be like just dying off for a couple months straight, and at least RUN has been holding its ground, and I just feel like RUN can pop more, and I just feel like it's just like holding its ground a lot more. And at the same time, like when you look at RUN and then you look at CHPT, CHPT does have options that are a little bit more expensive, relatively speaking. So it's just another thing to keep in mind. But at the end of the day, they are pretty similar setups. But yes, I really like Run.
Yeah, and with all these other ones breaking their bottom support, I mean, who knows? Maybe RUN will end up breaking their bottom support over the next couple days, but I really like them better, at least right now. And the main thing is I think that they'll all end up doing pretty good in the long term. Like at some point, CHPT should do pretty well, but right now, a lot of these companies are facing a lot of problems because of that infrastructure bill. There was a lot of talk of a lot of funding for these companies, and I know CHPT was really moving on that news whenever it first came out. So that funding kind of going away, or I know that infrastructure bill is having a lot of problems in Congress right now, and that's probably honestly sending these stocks down.
Good stuff. So, looking at everything, we're seeing like big tech stocks really sell off. Like, look at Apple and Microsoft; they're kind of taking a beating, and especially compared to some of these recovery plays, it's not looking too good. Seeing Apple down 1.5% on the day.
Yeah, it's not. And unfortunately, we've been seeing this happen like day after day with these tech stocks. And of course, it's not every day, but lately it just seems like that more times than not at market open, we're seeing bad moves to the downside with these stocks, like especially with Apple and Microsoft. Those two are like really, I don't know what's been going on with them, but they just have not been liking the market lately. Lots of sellers coming in, and I'm guessing lots of people are taking profits up here at the top with these stocks. Like whenever we look at Microsoft, we're all the way up to $300 a share, and man, like we only pulled back to 280. Like I could see a lot bigger of a pullback coming maybe over the next couple months or couple weeks. But either way, I mean, this is just not good news, and I don't know what's been happening, but every day it seems like around market open, there's just been so much negative momentum coming in, and sometimes the stock will get bought back up like in pre-market, or maybe the next day or something. But either way, I mean, there's just so much bad momentum right now. It's really scary, Mike. And like we talk about, it's kind of like that rotation. Like people, I think, are going into some of these other plays like the RCLs, CCLs, the airlines and stuff, of course. But it's such a hard market right now. And unless you're really switching, like if you're just sticking with the same strategy that you've had for the past year, it's probably not working too good right now. Right now is a time where the market's really changing, and a lot of like the strategies that have been working lately are honestly like starting to get kind of crazy with the way the market's been just so flat to up and down. I mean, it's hard to trade a flat market.
Yeah, so I would say that, like you said, Tom, some of these tech stocks are selling off, and you suggested that, it might be profit taking, and, it could definitely be that, plus rising rates, plus just fears about, inflation or whatever. I think there's definitely a variety of factors, but I definitely agree with you with seeing these tech stocks selling off a bit more, and, buying other stocks. Like, for example, when investors sell off or at least trim some of their tech positions, whether it be Apple, Microsoft, QQQ, whatever, maybe Nvidia, AMD, they're not just going to leave their cash just sitting in their brokerage account just doing nothing. They want to have a return on that. So they're going to go into other asset classes, whether it be some of these recovery plays like Boeing or RCL, or maybe even something else. But the point is that we see rotations every couple months or so, and we see a lot of big money transition out of one area to the market into another area of the market, and it happens almost like every quarter or so. So really be on the lookout for that, and I feel like the rotation has already started, and I think it's pretty obvious just by looking at the charts of these cruise lines compared to the charts of these tech stocks. But at the same time, it's not really too late because these things last for a couple months.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think honestly, like, I think that the pullback could get a lot more accelerated. I know that a lot of people are already thinking that this pullback is already kind of crazy, but I mean, man, like with Microsoft, I could possibly see it breaking the 275 support, maybe going down over the next, like, couple weeks, couple months, like we're talking about. But I could really see that 275 support coming into play over the next couple weeks or couple days. And even with like Apple, I could really see them possibly coming back down to like this 138 or 140 support, which they honestly hit just a couple days ago. But yeah, I mean, it's honestly just not good right now. Like you said, there's lots of people transitioning. They're taking profits on these stocks like Apple, and then they're just transitioning over to RCL, CCL, and it's honestly making it pretty easy too. Like if Apple wasn't at all-time highs and if these tech stocks weren't at all-time highs, I feel like it would be a lot harder to sell out of them right now. But with them being up so high, and you're sitting there staring at all these green profits, I mean, it's so easy to click that sell button right now. It's you have Apple like at the highs of it's all-time highs. So it's crazy stuff. Like these big guys with the hedge funds and like Michael Burry, for example, and stuff, like that they've got to be taking profits, or at least they're like opening up a ton of hedge plays like Burry is with TLT and stuff.
Yeah. Alrighty, we have A saying ASTR dip buy. So let's take a look. ASTR, it is down 5% on the day. It's not looking good. We are at a major support right at $8. Honestly, I haven't been following this one too much. So, Augusta, let us know what's been going on with it. Like I said, I haven't been following it too much, but it's not looking too good.
Yeah, I haven't been following it too much either, and it is a nice space stock. And they recently had some good news, like with their launches, that was kind of sending them to the upside. But then we just had a really bad gap to the downside, and now it's breaking that bottom support. So really hard to trade these space stocks, and until they get really established, it's going to be like this. It's really hard to trade, and unfortunately, it's breaking down to that all-time low. If you like this company for the long term, it could be a good time to buy shares with it being at the lows. But, personally, I would just stay away from this one.
Alrighty. We have George saying Tesla pushing 805. So there we go, Tom. How's it looking?
Yeah, it's actually looking great. Look at this on the daily. We're actually getting a nice breakout, breaking $800 on the 5-minute chart, really breaking those pre-market highs. And like you said, all the way up to 805. This is an awesome move. So glad to see it happening. And man, like we've been really consolidating around 800 with Tesla for a long time now, or it's been at least like 5 or 6 trading days. You can see here on my chart, we hit 799 and just really stayed right around 780 for the next couple of weeks until we finally got this good move with these delivery numbers. And I'm really glad to see the green coming in, Mike. We've had Tesla. There's been a lot of bad talk about Tesla lately, and lots of crazy scenarios, like with Burry having all these crazy short positions on them and everything like that. So I'm really glad to see them kind of pushing up while a lot of these people were really pushing for Tesla to go down. And I like, for example, Tesla could still go down, Mike, like in the short term. I know that anything can still happen, but with it breaking 800, I mean, I'm really looking for a nice move here. I would really hope that we could get a move maybe up to like 850 or something like that now that we finally broke out.
Gotcha. Good stuff there. It looks like we're starting to see a little bit more green in the markets. Like when the market just opened, there's at least like 90% of my watch list red, but it looks like we're only at like 70% red. We're seeing some of these stocks go in the green, like RCL, DAL, Boeing, AbbVie, of course Tesla. DraftKings was in the green for a second there, and now it's back in the red. But it's nice to see like a slow, at least the market's trying to pop back up a little bit. But looking at other stocks like Fedex, I know this one has been taking a beating for the past couple months or so, and this one's not looking too bad for like a short-term play to the upside.
Yeah, let's look at it. Wow, on the Max Daily, Mike, they actually got destroyed over the past couple of weeks. I know that those earnings were not good for them the last time, and it's not that the earnings weren't good, but their outlook wasn't good either. And just looking at it, I mean, they're honestly getting close to some supports, and I could see it turning up too. We're getting those green candles coming in, and honestly, it looks like a pretty good bottom down here on the 15-minute chart. If you use like $220 as a good support, I think it's a nice way to go, Mike. And yeah, I think it's even good for shares right now. Like FedEx is really hot, really far from their all-time high, and this recent drop has honestly made a pretty good opportunity here.
Yeah, I'm actually really tempted for maybe some calls or maybe even some short puts like really quickly.
Yeah, and we're actually like right at the 1,000 SMA too. So who knows? We might get a decent pop over the next week or so. And I would say like if we look at the chart, I would think if we could get a nice move up above like 230, I think we could see a pretty nice pop.
Yeah, I'm looking. I'm just like checking out the options chain really quickly. My main concern with this one is the liquidity. Like the calls have a good amount of volume, but I don't know. It's not crazy. Like the spreads are a little bit wide for my liking, to be honest. So I guess that's the only main thing you have to watch out for. Maybe it
How
might be
wide
just,
are they? Like $80?
well, for example, like for if we look at like the two, I know this is a put, but let's say we looked at like the $222.50 put for this week. There's 50 contracts traded. The bid's at $222 and the ask is at $255. And then it's a similar spread on the call side too. So it's like even if you predict the direction correctly, your profits will be severely limited depending on your fill price. So that's the problem.
Yeah, definitely. And that we've seen lots of problems with that in the past. It's just that's part of the options game, and that's why finding stocks with well-priced options is almost like 80% of trading options. It's you got to get the right options, and it's the way, that's just the way to go. And whenever you look at stocks like Boeing or the SPY, I mean, obviously SPY is like they have like the best options. There's always volume. There's always like very tight spreads, and it's just always looking pretty good. And then like you get some stocks like FedEx, and sometimes you'll even get surprised. Like I'll see some like really popular stocks, like maybe like Micron or sometimes like Qualcomm. Sometimes the pricing just goes out the window. It seems like, like you'll see a great setup like FedEx, but then like you said, the spreads are just way too wide, and the pricing's it's just not there, unfortunately, even though the setup is awesome. And it seems like it happens like that a lot, Mike, where the setup is so good that like the options just aren't priced well. And it might be because of the setup or what, but either way, it seems like that happens a lot, like where we find a nice setup and then there's just not good liquidity there. But you just have to stick with your numbers, and don't buy it just because you really feel good about it. Make it be priced well. I think that's a really smart way to go, and I'm glad that we've been doing that a lot.
Yep. So we have Keisha saying, do you like FedEx over UPS? So I would say so. I would definitely like FedEx over UPS, especially for a short-term play.
Yeah, for short-term play, I would definitely look at that one more. For a long-term play, I think I would personally look at UPS more for the longer term, but for the short term, FedEx is definitely looking a lot better. And it looks like a pretty good, like it's not a double bottom, but really good bounce off that 220 support.
All right. Market says, I look for ones with high volume on them for trades, to be honest. So that's the way to go, A lot of times the ones with the high volume are the most liquid. So that's good to see. And they have the, I guess you could say, the tightest spreads. And then Shelly said, good morning, next resistance for Tesla. So let's take a look. It's definitely breaking out, Shelly. We're up like 4% on the day. What do you have for us, Tom?
Yeah, let's look at the 180-day 4-hour chart here just so we can get a really good like bird's eye view here. But we're breaking out above the $800 resistance. I could possibly see another resistance coming up right around 820. So really look out for 820. I think we've hit that in the past, like back on like February 10th, or yeah, it looks like February like 12th, somewhere right around there. So watch for that. But if we break 820, I could see a really nice move up to the 850 resistance. And then after 850, I'm looking at 900. But for right now, I would really eye up 820 for the next couple days.
Alrighty. So we have Sale mentioning DVN and then CEIX. And he said both of them have been moving. So DVN, looking at this one, DVN is up like 4.5% on the day. And, it's been on an awesome uptrend. Honestly, I haven't been following it too much, but it's awesome to see this movement. And then with the next one, CEIX. This one's also popping off, up like 6% on the day. It looks like they are two energy stocks, and crude oil futures are popping off, ExxonMobil's popping off, Chevron's popping off. Like, Tom, we're just seeing like a lot of like upwards movement out of the energy sector.
Yeah, we are. And I feel like a lot of this has to do with the inflation numbers. Like we're just, unfortunately, Powell's forecasting that inflation to, stay. And it's unfortunately, like he kept saying it was going to be transitory for the past 4 to 6 months. But now he's starting to talk about inflation might stick around for a little while longer. And we're starting to see crude oil really break these highs. And actually it really broke that resistance actually right at like $75 or $76. So crude is really running up today, like you said. And, I was really looking for crude to maybe double top up here and then start to go down just for the sake of gas prices. Man, the gas prices are crazy. I just took a road trip and, I filled up my tank for like $65, $70. And I was like, wow, I mean, this is getting crazy with these prices. But, it's nuts to see it breaking out. And I have a big feeling, like I said, that a lot of this has to do with that inflation going on. And just looking at it, though, it's helping a lot of these stocks like Exxon and Chevron, which have been getting beaten down a lot lately. So it's good in this sense that it's helping these companies. But in the end, I mean, oil prices are bad for a lot of things. It's bad for the gas prices. It's bad for, the only thing it's really good for is just straight up profits from the oil companies. But either way, they're moving up very nicely today. And I really feel like that inflation is a big factor as of why these oil stocks are continuing to go up. And, even though they're going up in the short term, I know that we've been talking about this a lot, Mike, but for the longer term, I don't think that these plays are going to do too well. I think Exxon, it has a chance to maybe go up to like $80 or, maybe something like that over the next couple of years. But I don't see these companies continuing to go back to their old all-time highs or anything like that, especially with the way the EVs are kind of getting into the sector and really disrupting their type of, like the oil has been king for, the past 40, 50 years. And now we have these electric vehicles coming in and it's really disrupting that market.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like, I was talking to someone about this, I want to say last week, but even if I had a chance to like get Exxon at like a 10% discount or something like that, like I would rather just take the money and invest into, some of these industries that are set to grow exponentially over the next decade or so. So for example, like, if we just look around us, we can see that, there are some major players that are, shifting to like all electric or just like, clean energy. And I think it's pretty obvious that the world is changing and oil is not like it's ever going to disappear forever, but it's just like it's getting phased out. And I feel like there's just so much like growth potential with clean energy, with solar, like with electric vehicles and stuff like that, where, even if you can grab ExxonMobil at like a decent level, I just feel like some of these clean energy plays would be a lot better. And that's just my opinion.
Yeah, me too. And, you can go look at a lot of them right now that are actually doing pretty bad. Like we have Plug Power down 4% today, while Exxon is up 1.4% and starting to break out. And, they're really like, I'm not saying they're inverse with each other, but for the longer term, they're going to kind of, if all the EV stocks are down, generally Exxon should do pretty well. And just looking at it right now at Plug and all these other stocks, they're actually, even though they're all going down today, they're all right at really good longer term levels. Like Plug is at a good time to buy for the long term. Now, over the next year, you might lose 20 or 30% on Plug, but I feel like over the next 5 to 10 years, these stocks are going to do awesome. Like Plug, CHPT, RUN. I know we talk about this a lot because they've been at support a lot lately, but it seems like they're all in such a great sector. And for the long term, they should do pretty well. And, I know I've been talking about this a lot with people too. And a lot of people always say, like, they argue like, well, oil's never going to get phased out. We have to use it for everything from factories to cars, and I'm saying not gasoline for cars, just oil like for just any type of engine or anything like that. But it's such a weird sector and such a weird thing, and one thing to keep in mind is that people always think that stuff is impossible, right? Like in the 1980s, I don't think people ever thought that everyone would be carrying iPhones around and FaceTiming each other and doing all this crazy stuff. And it's going to be like that in the future, I think, with these electric cars. Like right now, a lot of people really don't think that this can happen, especially a lot of older people. Like personally, I feel like it's awesome, but like people like my parents and other people like that, they all just really have not gotten on board yet with it. And I feel like that it's like the cell phones. Eventually people are going to start catching on, and I think when they do, you're going to start seeing stocks like RUN, CHPT. I think that's when we'll finally see these big stocks start to fly.
Gotcha. So, I'm like, I think you would agree with this, Tom, and let me know. Like, I don't think oil will ever be like totally phased out. What's your opinion?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be totally phased out either. It's a really big sector and it's used in everything. And even if we get electric vehicles, like that's just cars. Like there's always boats out there still. There's jets going on. Like shipping. Like I know that those shipping containers, like those huge boats that bring import stuff from China and stuff. Man, those things use up so much oil and gas. It's crazy. So I think that might honestly be a big market for it in the future. And, that might be the main thing with like Exxon and a lot of these companies. They might really try to, push into like maybe like some fuel, like some aviation fuel, or maybe do something for like the ships, like I said. But yeah, it'll almost never get totally phased out. It's just my main problem with it is that we just have Exxon right now and it's valued at whatever they're valued at now. But once this totally happens, my only problem is like, let's just say they're valued at 100 billion right now. They might drop in valuation like 80 billion if in a few years once all this stuff starts happening.
Yeah, so I just looked at the valuation. Exxon's market cap is like basically $250 billion. So either way, I feel like with the exponential growth of the clean energy sector and electric vehicles and stuff like that, I feel like Exxon's going to be put in a tough position over the next couple years where they're going to have to make some big adjustments. And my money's definitely on like clean energy and EVs and stuff like that. But we have Power saying, hoping Charter breaks out of this downwards trend, getting rocked on my March calls. So CHTR, it's up a little bit today, but it's definitely been struggling. Yeah, they've definitely been struggling quite a bit. What do you think?
Yeah, they've had a lot of issues lately, and I've heard a lot of bad problems, unfortunately, about Charter. They're a big cable company and internet provider, so I've heard a lot of stuff about a lot of these cable companies potentially dropping over the next few years as like all these streaming services become a lot more popular. And just looking at it, maybe this is the start of that, but it's not been looking good lately. And the thing is that Charter's been at all-time highs. They've been running and running, and honestly, it's been having a pretty good move, Mike. So I don't know. It's personally, I feel like it's just so overextended that it can keep going down. Now it looks like we're hitting a support or something right around 730. So maybe we'll get a little bit of a bounce back up this week or something. But for the longer term, I'd be pretty careful with these guys, and the main thing is going to be with me, the streaming service stuff. And, that's really taking hold of that type of market. It's almost like the EVs disrupting the oil market. Now we have streaming services disrupting like the cable business. So I think CHTR could have some problems, but the good news is that they sell internet. So it's going to be a tough stock, but I like how it's turning back up here right now. And I feel like maybe over the next couple of days, we might be able to get a little bit of a pop.
Alrighty. Then we have Vicky saying, as per Kathy Wood, oil has peaked the same as whale oil peaked at the beginning of the 19th century. Too long to elaborate here. So, yeah, I was actually looking into some of Kathy's, I guess you can say, I think she tweeted this actually. So I was looking into it a little bit, and I saw that as well. So we're definitely in for an interesting couple years with these EVs and all that. But then we have Keisha saying, what happened to Pinterest? They had a nice pop on Friday and now selling off terribly. So Let's take a look at it. PINS. It's not looking too good. Lots of selling pressure coming in. News came out on Friday where they had a $58 price target, which was good to see. But besides that, there's no major news today. It looks just like definitely more sellers coming in than buyers.
Yeah, and I really hope that this $50 support ends up holding up. If Pinterest ends up falling below there, I'm going to be pretty worried about them in the short term. But, last week I was really looking for a turnaround with Pinterest. They hit that $50 support. They had that good news come in, and it looked like a lot of momentum was starting to come into Pinterest, but it all faded away. And like you said, now we're down 4.2%, unfortunately. And I really hope that the 50 support holds up. If it doesn't hold up, like I said, really be careful with Pinterest in the short term. Unfortunately, they're just at a very key level, and it almost reminds me of like a CHPT or RUN. A lot of those stocks are starting to break their supports, and it looks like Pinterest is kind of about to do that too.
Right, and then we have Head saying, what do you think of AAL this week? So I like all recovery plays right now, cruise lines, airlines, and like Boeing. You could even say some of these stocks that have just been sitting at support for a while, like Corsair, DraftKings, Neo, stuff like that, RUN. But back to your ticker, AAL, I like it. I don't have a specific price target, but I do like RCL more. So take that for what you want. I think RCL is just in a better position. And I think that cruise lines have more potential, especially in the short term. And then I think Boeing looks really good.
Yeah, I think Boeing is starting to look pretty hot, and Boeing's actually holding its level as well. But Boeing is actually kind of pulling back, kind of like AAL is right now. And whenever I'm looking at AAL, it's just scaring me today. But I feel like we might maybe go down on AAL for the next couple hours, or maybe for today we might consolidate around like 21.25 or maybe $21 even, and then maybe get a nice pop back up either tomorrow or maybe like later in the week. But right now today, this is actually a pretty big pullback for an intraday move. And we had it looked like a nice breakout earlier this morning, but now we're really breaking that 2160 area that it was at honestly holding up as a good support at 2160. Sorry, I feel like I can't talk today.
All good. And then we have Iranical saying Intel moves green. Yeah, they're not doing too bad. They're up like 0.3%. And then we have Alex saying tech looks terrible. Entered TQQQ puts and up 15% to hedge. So I think that's a smart idea. Tech is getting smacked, and I can see it continuing.
Yeah, me too. And look at this, actually. TQQQ is actually right at this like 120 support. This could be a pretty big sell-off here if we see the QQQ just continue to go down. So really watch this. I could actually see a pretty big move coming out of this stock pretty soon. And yeah, this sell-off is not looking good here. Definitely look at the puts. I think that's a pretty good way to go.
Sounds good. So Tom, do you have any last-minute stocks, options, or anything you're watching for tomorrow?
I'm still keeping my eye on these oil stocks, and keep in mind they're all short-term plays if I play the oil stocks, not anything long-term, of course, but I'm really keeping my eye on a lot of these big tech stocks like AMD, Nvidia, and others. And AMD is actually bouncing right on that $100 support once again. That's such a big level for them. And if they hold this and start to pop back, I could see a pretty big move coming maybe later this week or something. But if they break $100 and go down, I could see a pretty bad move to the downside as well. But I wanted to kind of point out Intel right now. All these tech stocks are doing terrible today, but we have Intel actually having a nice move to the upside. And I don't know what's going on with them. I know that they generally move the opposite of like AMD and Nvidia. So that's probably why they're going up right now. But actually on the daily chart, I will say Intel is actually sitting right around this 52 support. And it looks like a pretty good longer term, or it's at a good level right now for the long term anyways. I know Intel has had a lot of flack lately, but with AMD and Nvidia at all-time highs and they're starting to come back down, I would not be surprised if Intel maybe had a good earnings maybe soon, or maybe they came out with some good news and had a nice push back up. They have a big gap to fill here on the daily chart, and I think they're at a good long-term level right now.
Right, so thank you guys so much for joining today's stream. The market's definitely selling off, so make sure to have some hedges in place. But besides that, it looks like we're in for a wild week. And thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and have an amazing rest of your day.